What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be my last Week 2 preview and prediction video for you of the week, and it is the battle for the CyHawk trophy. We got the Iowa Hawkeyes, we got the Iowa State Cyclones, and ever entertaining game. Should be another entertaining one coming out of Ames, Iowa this weekend. But again, before we dive into this video, just want to say thank you guys so much for the support the channel has seen as of late. It has been crazy to me. You have no idea what it means. I just really appreciate everything you guys have done for this channel. Continue to see it grow. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when the videos get uploaded. But there are more ways than that for you guys to help me support this channel. Hey, you guys are doing one of them right now by watching this video, and you guys can gladly do more. You can like, you can comment, you can share, and you can do anything else you guys are willing and able to do to help me support my channel. So, without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive on into this Week 2 preview and prediction video for the battle for the CyHawk trophy. We got Iowa, we got the Iowa State, we got the Iowa Hawkeyes, we got the Iowa State Cyclones. Always an ever entertaining game in a series that has been dominated by the Iowa Hawkeyes, who have revamped that offense from a season ago, and while it still has a lot of room to grow, still looked pretty solid. Meanwhile, Iowa State been going through a lot. You had some players that are no longer with the program due to the gambling situation that went on there. I mean, Iowa had some players leave the program too, but all in all, looking at this game, Iowa State was able to win last year. Can the Hawkeyes take revenge? That's what you're going to find out my opinions on today. Let's take a look at some stats and what both of these teams did in their first game of the season last week. We are going to start with the Iowa Hawkeyes, and we have to start with this Iowa offense. Yes, these numbers still are not fantastic, but they didn't turn the football over. They didn't allow too much pressure to Cade McNamara back there at the quarterback position. And overall, even though these stats may not show it, it did look like a much, much better offensive unit here for the Iowa Hawkeyes. McNamara, again, his health is sort of in question. We'll talk about that more later. But last game against Utah State, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, and really had himself a pretty solid day. This is an Iowa offense that kind of struggled to be able to run the ball. Again, they only had 2.4 yards per carry. That does include sack yardage there as well. But I mean, when you take a look at the lead running back here, Caleb Johnson was really good. 19 carries, 63 yards, 1 touchdown. He was very methodical, very effective for this Iowa offense and this Iowa group of receiving core, or I should say this Iowa receiving core. Again, it starts with the tight end position for them. Luke Lakey was their leading receiver. You still have Nico Reganey. Seth Anderson was able to step up. It's an Iowa offense that, yeah, still has some room to grow. But you know what? I feel pretty confident about the direction that it is growing, and I see it being better than it was last season. So let's talk about this Iowa defense now. And, well, this is an Iowa defensive unit that I think we kind of just expected them to do what they did in last week's game, right? They didn't really generate as much pressure on the Utah State quarterback as I thought that they were going to. They allowed a little bit more yards than I thought they were going to, and at times, this secondary was really able to struggle. They ended up taking a couple of really good defensive weapons that the Hawkeyes have kind of out of the game, did the Utah State Aggies. But taking a look overall at this defensive performance, I mean, you can't really complain too much, right? They held their opponent to 14 points. They held their opponent to under 30% in the third down conversion category. And while over 300 yards per game is not typically the Iowa standard, you usually want to hold teams to under 300 yards here with this program. I don't think there's any reason to panic about this defense at all. It's got too many weapons, too many good players. They'll be just fine throughout the season. Meanwhile, for the Iowa State Cyclones, a team coming into the season that had a lot of promise, a lot of hope, maybe had some of that shot down by what happened with the whole gambling situation. But if you want really to kind of talk about anything throughout throughout their first game against the Northern Iowa Panthers, guys, is that this team is just still really young. And again, when you have to lose some players that you did, especially Hunter Decker's Jarrell Brock that got involved with that gambling scandal there, this is just a really young offensive unit that's going to need to take time to gel. The quarterback room was pretty solid. Your new leader looks like it's going to be Rocco Becht. 113 yards and 2 touchdowns for him. Again, only threw 13 passes. Running back room, Cartavius Norton, Abu Sama. They were the two guys that ended up getting the majority of the carries. This is the rushing attack that averaged 5 yards per carry last week. But again, still has a long way to go. Yes, they were able to score 40 points. But again, a lot of that with help from their defense. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But you got to be better on third down. And again, I think it's going to take some time for the Cyclone offense to really be able to gel. But I think when it does gel, there's a lot of really nice, young, talented pieces, a lot of really good, undervalued recruits coming out of high school that I think are going to perform really well for the Cyclones this season once they really are able to get going. This defense, however, was pretty solid. Again, you take a look, they generated 5 sacks, they forced 2 turnovers, held their opponent to only 9 points. Now, again, there were moments where Northern Iowa really did shoot themselves in the foot there, right? Especially with those turnovers. But, I mean, taking a look in general at this Cyclone defense, there definitely is a lot to like about what the Cyclone defense was able to put together. Again, you have a lot of very, very solid weapons, a lot of very, very good players on this team. In fact, Jeremiah Cooper had both of the turnovers generated, picked the ball off 2 times against the Northern Iowa offense. But, I mean, all in all, when I take a look at these two teams, I think it's going to be a very entertaining matchup here in the CyHawk Trophy battle, which leads me into my what to watch for, my keys to the game, whatever you really want to call it, just some things that I think you guys should watch out for when you are watching this game. Let's start with the road team in the Iowa Hawkeyes. 1, can McNamara be a difference maker? Again, didn't really have to do too much in that Utah State game. I feel like a lot of people around Iowa City were pretty confident that they were going to be able to win that game, regardless of however way you want to slice that game. But McNamara's health in a little bit of a question here. I believe he's trying to come back from some sort of leg injury, maybe a quad. I can't quite remember the specific details of it. But can he be a difference maker? Is he going to be healthy enough to really be involved well in this game? I think that's one thing that's going to be very, very interesting to watch because, again, there is a lot of nice talent on this Cyclone defense. If you are the Hawkeyes, I mean, just do what you've done throughout the entirety of the Kirk Ferentz era, which is control the pace of the game. Set the tone, set the pace, set the tempo that you want to play at, and especially against a young team like the Iowa State Cyclones, hey, maybe if you were able to speed them up and then slow them back down, it's going to get this Iowa State offense and defense on their heels. So really be able to control the pace, control the clock, do everything that you want to have happen, and just make the Cyclones follow your game plan, if that makes sense. And then pressure this young offense, generate tackles behind the line. This is a Hawkeye defensive unit that has a lot of very solid talent in the defensive front 7. But again, didn't generate as much pressure, didn't generate as many tackles for losses as I would have thought last week. Do that this week, right? I mean, really, it is just plain as simple as that. Pressure the young quarterback, pressure the young running backs, pressure the young group of wide receivers. You're going to be really good off. Now let's talk about the Iowa State Cyclones. I mean, you have to have a great game plan for this Hawkeye defense. Now, last year, the Cyclones could rely on an Iowa offense that was very, very, very lackluster. But again, there are major upgrades to this Hawkeye offense. It is a lot better of an offense than it was in years past. And if you give this Iowa Hawkeye offense this year enough opportunities, it's going to be able to hurt you in one way or another. It's going to be able to flip the field or it's going to be able to score points. So for this Cyclone offense, kind of do the same thing that Iowa is trying to do, right? Control the pace, control the tempo, make Iowa play your style of game. This is really important for the Cyclones to be able to do. I believe that the Hawkeyes have the advantage in the trench battle. The Cyclones need to prove me wrong. They need to win the battle in the trenches. They need to run the football. They need to pound the ball. They need to be able to generate pressure of their own. They got to win the battle in the trenches. I know it sounds cliche, but that's really what they got to do. And take every opportunity given to you. This rivalry has been filled with a lot of craziness and a lot of mistakes made on both sides. If it's Iowa making the mistakes in this game, the Cyclones need to capitalize, and they need to go make the Hawkeyes pay. But it leads me into my prediction here. Kind of differing opinions when you compare Vegas and the FBI. Vegas likes Iowa, and I do too. I predicted the Hawkeyes to win this game. For some reason, the FBI is sitting here liking Iowa State. I'm not sure why. This is the 3:30 game on Fox, and quite honestly, I just think that the Hawkeye defense is just quite simply too good. I think that the Hawkeye defense is going to be able to show out, going to be able to have a really, really good game. And again, this offense is improved enough to the point where they can make the Cyclones pay for a lot of the mistakes that they inevitably, this young offense is going to make. So I got the CyHawks winning the CyHawk Trophy, taking it back. Let me know your thoughts on this game in the comment section down below. And that does it for Week 2 predictions. See you guys in the next one. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. Goodbye.